You're not crazy when you have them. You're very sane. You're very rational. You must be highly educated, well endowed academically, well world-wise, but you can still suffer from these illnesses of the mind. He explains in this doha, एक व्याधि वस नर मरही, एक व्याधि वस नर मरही, एक साधी बहु व्याधि, पीरई सतंत जीव कहू, सो कि मिलई समाधि, सो कि मिलई समाधि। एक ही रोग के मारे मनुष्य मर जाता है. He says men died of one of these diseases, one of these illnesses. He says, but I have spoken of many malignant and incurable that constantly afflict the soul. How then can it find peace? He says one of these diseases can kill the human being, and he doesn't mean death. To live a life with one of these diseases when you cannot interact with humanity, you are a living dead. And he says one of these diseases, covetousness, indiscrimination, is enough to destroy your life. And it can become an incurable disease. You know, there are certain people that it doesn't matter what you tell them, how you talk to them, how much you encourage them. Can't seems to change. No effect. The disease seems to be incurable. But the reality is, everything of this type has a cure. All of these illnesses does have a cure. Prem so Sitapati Ramachandra Bhagavan ki jai. He talks about the remedy. नेम धर्म आचर तप ज्ञान यज्ञ जपतान बेशद पुनि को तीन नहीं रोग जाई हरि जान रोग जाई हरि जान. He says there are myriads of different remedies. There are so many ways to cure these illnesses we talked about. Religious vows, religious observances, right conduct, austere penance, spiritual wisdom, sacrifices, prayers, charity. He says these are all possible remedies to the illnesses we've talked about. He says, but these illnesses I've talked about do not necessarily yield to these remedies. They become an immune, meaning they build up immune to these remedies. So it doesn't matter how many prayers you suggest, it doesn't matter how much meditation you suggest, how much puja you suggest, the illnesses they have has become immune. Like, you know, we have an illness today and they said that medication, that antibiotics used to work, but it doesn't work anymore. The illnesses have found a way to fight it. As such, Sant Goswami Tulsidas, how in-depth and profound this is, that it's so clinical, it's so psychological, it's so practical, it's so human to understand that the human nature, all of our illnesses, 99% of it is based upon how we see the rest of the world. How we think, relate, interact, how we speak, think and act to the rest of the world determines our true state of mind. Prem so Sitapati Ramachandra Bhagavan ki jai. In this statement, एही विधि सकल जीव जग रोगी शोक हर्ष भय प्रीति वियोगी.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
मानस रोगत चुक मैं गाए,
Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram,
मानस रोगत चुक मैं गाए,
Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram.
यही सब के लखी बिरले आए,
Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram,
श्री राम
Jai Ram Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Ram.
इस तरह संसार के सभी पुरानी रोगी हैं. He says every creature in the world is sick of one or some of these diseases. Pray alternately, there is agony and ecstasy, in pain or full of joy, fear and love and bereavement. He says, I've mentioned some of the diseases of the mind. Although everyone is suffering from them, very few know that they are ill. Now, when you have an illness, you don't know what it is. You go to the doctor, he takes some blood and he says, okay. And he takes some urine samples, some blood samples, some tests, and he says, your cholesterol is this, your blood pressure is this. But you can't see that anywhere. You don't know, but you have to go to a doctor. You didn't think of that. The doctor tells you, now you know. Which doctor do you go to understand these illnesses? Which are very, very real? Which doctor do we go to? It is a very big question. Today, there's no doubt, and should not be any doubt, that the world suffers from the greatest amount of stress. Stress, caused and brought on by 90% of what Sant Goswami Tulsidas talks about. Our greed, our anger, our animosity, our affliction by the way we interact with others negatively, our own personal approach to life, the way we think of each other, the way we conduct ourselves, the way we judge and measure others, all of these things affect our state of mind, thus brings us to a state of... So who do we go and tell, by the way, here's how I'm thinking. Today we say you go to the shrink. Yes. But how many people go to the shrink? It's when you're on the edge, then you go to the shrink. How many people goes for a regular checkup to see tell me my mental state? We don't do regular checkup for that. We do regular checkup for our physical state. But here, there is a suggestion that we need to do this check on the spiritual state, which relates to the mental state. One will ask, so Panditji, how do I find out if I have these illnesses? What do you think? How do you find out if you have these illnesses? Yes, Natarajan. Give him a big hand, please. If a person's routine life, meaning everyday normal life, is so disruptive, then that person has some of these problems. Because what is routine seems, they can't get along with anybody, they can't seem to find a job, even if they find one, they can't make out a long time, or even when they're there afterwards, there's all kinds of, lots of symptoms, okay? Lots of symptoms, and it's there, but the interesting thing is the patient doesn't know they're ill. And there are not many brave doctors around to tell the patient they're ill. The world of those who understand this, that's their problem, let them figure it out. There are not many people who are saying, let me take the time to see if I can sit down with these people and talk to them, because you know what? It is a very thankless job. You tend to be abused and accused of all kinds of things if you try to tell them anything about that. So, it is not an easy thing to try to help someone in this state. But the first step in anyone in that state to get help is when they decide they need help. Like you, when you decide to go to the doctor, that's the first step that you will get some action about your physical health. But if you do not decide that you need help, then you continue to do what you're doing and you'll get the same results. If you want to get different results, then you need to ask yourself, what can I do different in the way I'm doing so I can see things, feel things, and experience things differently? And it has nothing to do with separating from your family or breaking off or anything like that of a negative. It means stop, think, and analyze. What are my trials and tribulations? What am I doing to contribute to them? Am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? Definitely we are the problem, but we can become the solution also. Prem Sitapati Ramachandra Bhagavan ki. How many of you listened to Ramcharitmanas read before many other times? Put your hands up. Not only here. You've listened to Ram Katha before? Many of you. How many of you ever heard this Katha read? 1, 2. This Saptaprashan Katha? Good. It's not very often read because it's so relevant to our day-to-day lives. But I think it should be read more often. There is so much to digest from it. Prem Sitapati Ramachandra Bhagavan ki jai. The Katha continues for many more Chaupads and Doha, and all dealing with that this is the reality of human existence, and that we must we must have the discrimination to say that there is something that I am doing in my life that is causing what is happening, and I can do something to change it. And then at that time we seek out guidance. And the guidance here is usually what was called the guru or the spiritual preceptor. Not a, with all due respect, not someone who's going to try to let you believe that someone has done something to you. You know, the world is full of people who believe that someone has done something to them. That's why the way they are the way they are. And many of us, it's very easy to be convinced, oh God, Pandit, somebody did something to me. That's why this is. And then the interesting thing is they come to the Pandit to try to get the Pandit to find out what somebody else did to them. And some of them even know who did it. The person who did something to them, who, whatever, how, some mechanism there. The chances are someone else doing something to us that will bring us to be angry, to bring us to be covetous, to bring us to be greed, to bring us to have envy. Someone has done something to us to make us that way. If you believe that, then you need big help. You need major help. Because your greed, your anger, your animosity can only come from within you. Oh yes, people may provoke you. Like, you know, the guy on the road who cuts across you, just provoke you that you want to kill him. Yes, but your sanity kicks in and says, let him go. It's just a temporary thing, I should be more cautious. But when you live with that hatred in your mind all of your life thinking, then you're the one who's ill, nobody else. Prem Sitapati Ramachandra Bhagavan ki jai. This type of illness is very prevalent in the world today. Today we're hearing about bullying in schools. It's a major issue in North America. Children are dying from this. Now think carefully, what is the cause of that issue? That the bullier, what's making them a bully? Yes. Neglected at home. That's one. But anger, frustration, rejection, they are playing out things that they have come to feel that in their minds that I'm going to get somebody for this. And it is a national issue. It's not something, it's a national issue. It's bigger than heart problems. We are spending millions of dollars soon, billions will be spent to manage bullying. What the scripture says we need to do to manage bullying? Send our children to Gurukul classes. Doesn't matter what disharmony exists in their home, if they go to a place where they can learn about what is harmony, it will be able to help them. But what happens if there's disharmony in the home and they go into an environment where no attempt is made to harmonize, then they present the disharmony in a form of venting and others suffer. That is why maybe these schools that are called maybe private schools or whatever, focus schools, that had a curriculum that included some form of religious or spiritual undertaking seems to have merit. Although they lost their merit because wrong things happened in some of these schools. But the concept of a school whereby there's some religious context of the learning has all been common to all religions. All religions says learning must include a relationship building with God. And the Gurukul concept of Hinduism says that children goes to the home of the Gurukul, they learn mathematics, science and all things, but they learn how to relate to God. Now, how many of our children are going to school to learn how to relate to God? And just imagine they come from a home where there's no relationship to this piety, this love for each other, this compassionate nature. If that is not in their home and they go to school, they're not going to get that being taught to them. The society is faced with this. This is Kali Yuga. This is what's happening in this Kali Yuga. And the remedies has been outlined by Sant Goswami Tulsidas. He says, the remedy, sacred vows. What's a sacred vow? This Yagyopavit Sanskar is a sacred vow. The initiation, the pathway of relationship to God. Accepting a guru, another sacred vow. Religious observances, celebrating all of the parvs and being committed, being they said this is the holy day, that's the holy day, work on those things. Right conduct, trying to carry oneself in such a way that we have some pride and dignity in what we do. Austere penance, to sit quietly and to meditate upon God. Spiritual wisdom, to learn and to learn and learn more about God and His relationship to us. Sacrifices. What's a sacrifice? Charity, giving of ourselves, and prayers. And of course, simple everyday charity. So these are the remedies for the illnesses of the world. Now someone will say, Panditji, if that's what it is, that doesn't cost any money, why don't we do it? Because it doesn't cost any money. That's why we don't do it. It's free, cheap and easy. Why not get something that pays? I recently heard in the news, and by the way this is the fact, that the ministry, the Federal Ministry of Immigration, that is Mr. Jason Kenney's ministry, has millions of dollars allocated every year to be given out for grants to organizations and groups that are working towards resettlement of new immigrants. And they said every year there are millions of dollars not used, but yet applications have been made and they have been approved, but the money is not being given. Those processes and the programs that have been promoted by, say, the religious organization, the government is not giving the money to them. because they're considered, quote unquote, religious organizations don't get government grants. So the money is not given, it's kept. And where do you think the people go to when they need help, who are landed new immigrants? Where do you think they go? Religious organizations is their first stop. Therein lies the Maya and the world we live in. But if I apply for money to run a casino, to build a casino, I will get a loan like that. Because the government sees the revenue right away, the stream, and says, this is a viable project, we'll fund you. They will even give me a grant. If Ram Mandir wanted to build a casino, we could get a grant to do it. Yes. You could. So maybe we should build a casino. Casino Rama. Somebody already took the name. So we can't go there, right? Prem Sitapati Ramachandra Bhagavan Ki Jai. Let me take this opportunity to thank all of you for being here tonight. And to briefly summarize our katha, we are talking about human values and what afflicts us most in our lives and how we can rectify these things. I pray that none of us are suffering gravely from any of these illnesses, and I also pray, if we are, that we seek the proper remedies and the proper guidance to help us to alleviate ourselves of these these infractions or inflictions in our lives. Prem Sitapati Ramachandra Bhagavan Ki. We want to thank tonight Dansa family, Anil and Brinda Rupchand, Kimraj and Varsha, Sharon, Laku, Rani and Kishore Bisnath. Give them all a wonderful round of applause. And it's also to be known as the Mauritian night. We have quite a few of the Mauritian community, members of the Mauritian community, who are seated as our Yajakarta or Shrotas tonight. And I've got to know the Mauritian community many, many years, but I had the privilege of going to Mauritius myself twice, and it is certainly a paradise. I don't know why anyone would want to leave that country and come to Canada, but nevertheless, they're here. And it's a country whereby it is known, or it's not known, it is maybe the only Hindu Raj, whereby I'd say the Hindu population is very dominant and is a prevailing entity in government on all issues. I've gone to ministers' office who are ministers of the government. When you walk into their office, you have to take off your shoes because their office is considered a holy place. And I was very pleased about this. I went there. The only other place that we call the Hindu Raj will be Bali. Nepal is part of India, where there's a Hindu king, but it's politically under major chaos. But Bali is 92% Hindu. But Bali is a small country within the largest Muslim nation, Indonesia. So those are two places in the world where this, and Mauritius is again a beautiful island. If you've never been there, take a trip. I'm sure you will find it most fulfilling and calm and serene. The ocean water is beautiful. Oh, and what makes Mauritius more beautiful, the people are. They're very, very humble and very, very hospitable, like in most places, but they have a touch above all of us at times. Trinidad is nice also, but we have to give Mauritius a gift. So let's give our Mauritian community a big hand, please. We invite everyone to join us again tomorrow night, and on Saturday when this Yagna will conclude. Rampasaji, Bhojan, take. Please join me in a brief chant and then we will be concluding.
Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
We invite everyone to stand, please, for Aarti, and everyone is invited to participate in Aarti. Those people who are 60 years and over can come first. Those are seniors. They're given an option to do Aarti first, and everyone else to follow. Shrotas.
आरती श्री रामायण जी की कीरति तले तललित सियति आरती श्री रामायण जी की आरती श्री रामायण जी की आरती श्री रामायण जी की कीरति ललित सियति आरती श्री रामायण जी की आरती श्री रामायण जी की कीरति आरती श्री रामायण जी की कीरति तले तललित सियति गावत ब्रह्मादिक मुनि नारद वाल्मीकि विज्ञान विशारद शुक संतादित शारद बनी पवन सुत तीरथ नीति आरती श्री रामायण जी की आरती आरती श्री रामायण जी की कीरति तले ललित सियति जाओ शास्त्र सब कंदन कोरत मुनि जन गण संतन को आरती श्री रामायण जी की आरती श्री रामायण जी की कीरति तले तललित सियति आरती श्री रामायण जी की कीरति तले तललित सियति गावत संतत शंभु भवानी अर्धत संभव व्यास आदि कवि वरद बखानी कादव सिंह गरुड़ तेरी आरती श्री रामायण जी की आरती श्री रामायण जी की कीरति तले तललित सियति कीरति तले तललित सियति।
Let us all please clasp our hands in front of our chest and bow our heads in humility. As we offer our concluding prayers, we give thanks to the Divine Lord that, O Lord, help us to relieve ourselves of these illnesses of the world. Show us the way to become engaged in austere activities, in prayers, in meditation, in worshipping and reading the Holy Scriptures, in taking the time to listen to those who expound on these Scriptures. And slowly but surely, O Lord, we know through your grace, we shall be relieved of all of these illnesses, maladies as they're called, in our lives. Oh, Hari Om, Hari Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Sasaka Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Dao Shanti Antariksha Gum Shanti Nidri Shanti Rapa Shanti Rushade Shanti Vanaspatya Shanti Vishwadeva Shanti Brahma Shanti Sarve Gum Shanti Shanti Deva Shanti Sama Shanti Devi. For those of us who can, please bow our heads touching the ground. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Asato Ma Sadagamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. प्रेम से सीतापति रामचंद्र भगवान की, सच्चे सनातन धर्म की सबको जय 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 श्री राम, जय माता दी. सभी लोग आसन लीजिए. एवरीवन प्लीज बी सीटेड. The आरती and Panchamrita Prasad and Bhojan is prepared for everyone. Please do partake. Ready?